We're talking about Endangered Species Act here. I don't want to get too arcane, but one of the rule changes that you have affected in the last couple of weeks here, it has to do with what's called Section 7, this consultation part that we're talking about. And some people are calling it a gutting of the Endangered Species Act, that you have removed the provision that requires an agency, say the National Park Service wants to build a bridge through a river that might disturb fish or something. They used to have to consult with the relevant U.S. Fish and Wildlife or National Marine Fisheries Service. You have removed that, and some people say that that's terrible for the Endangered Species Act to remove that consultation.
Of course they say that. Of course they say it's gutting the act. Anytime you make suggested changes to the Endangered Species Act, the critics say you're gutting it. They said that in the Senate. Now, let's just talk about it for a second. We are absolutely not gutting this. We've modified it so that specific examples, let's say that you're going to now say that a no hiking area around a nesting area is going to go from 15 yards to 30 yards. That is not going to have a negative impact on the species. Therefore, you need not consult.
Well, they're talking about actions that might have an impact.
And those actions that might, then the consultation will still occur. It's for those actions where the determination is this is not going to affect, this is not going to jeopardize, so that we can prioritize. And instead of doing all of this, many of which are not necessary, let's focus on where it's really going to make an impact.
Another controversial provision, allowing loaded guns in national parks. I'm sure that you've heard both sides of this.
Both sides.
Why is it necessary? That rule has been around since the Reagan era. What prompts the need for change? I mean, the Brady campaign has already sued the agency and you over this provision. Why is it necessary?
I believe in the Second Amendment rights. I also believe in the role of states. States have what are called the concealed carry weapons permit. If you have that, if you've gone through the process where law-abiding citizens have had the background check, they've been determined that they can in fact carry that concealed weapon, not long rifles, not long arms, but those which you can carry, pistols, and revolvers, etc. And you have that permit. We had a whole host of different rules on that. This now gives us consistency. It turns to federalism and says we will abide by what a state says. If a state wishes to narrow it and say, no, we don't want to have that in a national park, then a state may do so. But absent that, we're going to respect the concealed weapon carry permit.
Do you think, as the Brady campaign alleges, that it will make national parks and other federal areas more dangerous?
No, no. Once again, this does not say that all citizens can now carry these weapons. It says those who have gone through respective state processes of getting the background check, law-abiding citizens have been given the affirmation by their state that they can carry. We now recognize that.
The former director of the Park Service says he thinks that this would create a dangerous confusion, and that the current regulations have been working for many years. Park rangers need these regulations to protect the parks. Roger Kennedy. Just a difference of opinion?
Difference of opinion.
Let me ask you about a couple of Idaho-specific issues. Wolves. I know you're limited in what you can talk about. You've been recused from this issue because of your previous participation in it. But gosh, it's like a bit of like a ping pong ball. Okay, you know, it looked like they were going to be delisted. Now they're back in the hands of the Fish and Wildlife Service.
Right.
How disappointing was that for you? I know you really wanted to see the state manage that population. And do you think it'll happen?
Let me first, as you talked about recusal, but because as governor I was so outspoken with regard to wolves, both the White House and the United States Senate stated that I must recuse myself on that issue. So I have abided by that because that's the ethical thing to do. My position has not changed. I do believe that you should have state management of that particular species. You should. It is closer to where the issue is. You have good wildlife biologists here, the fish and game biologists that are here, and that's where it should reside. So you're correct, it goes back and forth, there are lawsuits, but think I've made it clear what I would hope is the final outcome.
Do you think the situation was harmed when Governor Otter made news when he said he would buy the first permit to kill a wolf?
Oh, no comment.
No comment. I want to ask you about the Oahe Initiative.
Yeah.
Another local initiative that seems to be making its way through Congress. You think that will succeed?
I do. Senator Crapo deserves a great deal of credit for his many years of working in collaboration and partnership, which I think is the key to getting a conservation action taken. I spoke to the senator as the session was winding down, and we talked about the fact that Senator Reed is positive about this, so I'm hopeful that we'll see it pass.
As we wrap up, what's your opinion of Ken Salazar, Obama's pick for Secretary, your position?
I've worked with Senator Salazar. I like Ken. I consider him a friend. In fact, he's probably one of the first senators that after I was confirmed, I went and met with. He's pragmatic. I think he's a good listener. He is a gentleman. He brings high standards with him, and I think people will like this man.
When you look back on your tenure, what are you most proud of?
A couple things. I don't know how much time we have.
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes. First, it was addressing this whole question of ethics. It needed to be addressed, and we took it head on. There's no perfect outcome because, again, you are dealing with people, but we made that a priority. Also, I believe that we have taken an agency of 73,000 people and it feels good about itself. It's up and moving, and I'm amazed at how often it can be agile. The other thing, a whole multitude, but I've really made efforts on working with children, reconnecting with nature. One aspect of that is with our national parks. In the year 2016, they will be 100 years old. And so I have the centennial effort. A part of that is simply saying that every year, if passed by Congress, but every year there'd be made available $100 million to be matched by the private sector, $200 million each year leading up to 2016. Even our friends, even one of our friends who introduced the legislation on the floor of the Senate said, this is a good idea, but we think that we'll be lucky if we receive signed letters of financial commitment for $20 million the first year. And he was correct. We didn't receive $20 million, we received $300 million of signed financial commitment. Hundreds of projects have already gone forward now.
You know, I wonder if the stimulus package that President-elect Obama is working towards might include kind of like looking back towards Secretary of Interior Ickes when he did the kind of CCC. You know, maybe Department of Interior could be very much involved in these projects, making the national parks better.
I agree.
What's your future? Some people have talked about maybe president of the University of Idaho.
You know, this will be on January 20th, the first time in 23 years that I have not been actively engaged in a campaign or in public office. So Patricia and I are going to take a deep breath, and we're going to take a little time off, and then we'll assess all the opportunities and make a determination. So right now, I don't know.
Well, you're prohibited from directly lobbying for a year, right? Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Motorcycle riding's probably somewhere in there.
It is. In fact, I've loved being Secretary of Interior during Memorial Day weekend because Ride to the Wall, Rolling Thunder, and 250,000 motorcycles, and I've always been right there, part of that, including in the morning, going up there with our National Park police officers on their motorcycles to Walter Reed Hospital, helping the magnificent wounded warriors onto the buses and bringing them back down to the Lincoln Memorial so that as the parade of bikes go by, 250,000 bikes, the veterans are there knowing that we support them.
Well, it's too snowy today for you to ride your bike in here, but we do appreciate you making the time in your busy schedule to visit with me and our viewers.
Well, thank you, and congratulations on 15 years of dialogue.
Oh, thank you very much, Secretary. I appreciate that. It's all due to our viewers, and we want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of Dialogue. We hope to see you same time next week.